Welcome into the Batify podcast. I am Travis Creasy along with Ben Hayes. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing great, Travis. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm hunkered down in the Bat Cave here in Fayetteville, Tennessee, and we are super awesome, excited, wonderful, all those great things that you can say about being with our wonderful, awesome guests. So much anticipation since July of 2019 to get this guest on. And I'm going to just go ahead and ask you, because I'm probably going to say it wrong, but is it Cayron or Cayron Mann?
It's Cayron Mann.
There we go.
You got it.
That's the way I've always heard it said. So
you hit it right.
Nailed it. Well, as I said, we're excited, Cayron, to have you on. I also reference you and call you Sister Man. So you so eloquently referenced there on the Batify questionnaire. But it is good to have you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here with you guys. Listen to you from the beginning.
How did God speak to you? You know, what are there some words that just seem to be reoccurring that kind of hit the right spot? Maybe you had an itch to scratch and somebody said, or there's a word that, you know, in some of our struggles and things with the foster kids and that, it's been be still, you know that God's fighting the battle. Anything like that, that even maybe years down the road, you now realize, hey, there was a reason for that, you know?
Well, I guess if you don't mind, I'm just right there, I guess, sort of still in those moments. And I think he spoke to me and I listened right in those moments. I mean, just the moments of the medical professionals working, to try to preserve Sam's life. I walked into the adjacent room, which there was no one in there. For some reason, seems like every room on that unit was full. That room wasn't. Stepped in there, stared into a very blue July sky. I can remember the clouds. And of course, just went directly to God and just kept asking, do you have him? Just let me know you've got him. And I think what God spoke to me was peace. I mean, and, you can't explain that really, but you feel it. And in that empty hospital room, I think he spoke peace. I mean, there was clarity and there was peace.
That's pretty powerful.
And to find an empty hospital room, I mean, that's what struck out to me. It struck to me was to find that place where there could be not only physical peace, but also that spiritual. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Travis, you're right. I mean, it was just amazing. That's just the word for it. I mean, it was peace. It was grace. It was.
You mentioned people who would allow tears to happen, and obviously thinks of the blessings, the Beatitudes. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And, that's a real struggle for me. I want to, reframe everything, everything's great. Everything's a party. Everything's going to be fine. And a lot of times I miss that opportunity to receive that blessing. And I know that you mentioned in our questionnaire that there were people who let you have those moments.
That's right. And now those people, I don't know that I can always name them, but maybe that's because there was too many to name that just offered that permission, offered those moments. Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you're one of those people, way to go.
Thumbs up, I tell you.
That's great. Yeah.
Well, and I think, Travis, most people know us for being goofy. And
what?
This is kind of a different speed for us, dealing with this, these topics. But I think that is an important thing, is that even if, you're somebody who likes to have a good time and have fun and joke around, there are those moments where you have to go, hey, there's some serious stuff in the world, and it gets our attention. And it's also a blessing, to be able to slow down and to talk to people and to cry with people and to celebrate. It's a whole Romans 12 thing,
That's right.
Weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice. And there's blessings even in mourning sometimes.
And that's what makes the goofiness so important.
So what do you think you know or have found out? Maybe these are two questions that you know about God that maybe you didn't know before, and how has that helped your faith to grow?
I guess I had never really experienced Psalm 34:18 about, I believed that God heals the brokenhearted, but then to experience it, to be healed, or maybe to continue being healed, the Lord is close. He's right there with the brokenhearted, and He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. And there's a lot of people who listen to this podcast that I have no doubt that they have felt it, that they have experienced that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that? Is how have you experienced that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's a question some people might say, well, how do I experience the healing from that? How do I experience that He's rescued me, when I've been crushed? If they haven't yet, like, how did you experience that?
I remember receiving got lots of cards and stuff like that, but I received a card that someone had made a donation to the healing place. And it just so happened that, I'd never heard of the healing place before. And I learned pretty quickly that the healing place it's a grief support for children and their families in Muscle Shoals. And the person who had made the donation was a former student and also had been blessed by the services of the healing place as well. And again, how things just come together. And I contacted the healing place, and I met a really amazing lady named Kay Parker. I thought that I was going to the healing place to take our son, Cameron, so that he could begin healing. What I didn't know was that it was for me as well. So
and that is a great place, and Kay's an amazing person.
I hope that kind of answers that follow-up question, because just that fell into place, never having heard about this, but then someone who, had a contact, someone who had experienced the support there, and then, just makes this small gesture that then I have no doubt that that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now, and in my career.
Turning around and helping somebody else through something you've been through.
Exactly. That's the key. And until you know that you can do that, I don't know that you can. But it's people who try to help you to understand. Here's something that when you're ready, when you can reach out and help somebody, you're going to be amazed at what that does for you.
Yeah, and so I kind of asked too, with that, how has your faith grown? And I'll be honest, you've always had, a big faith. I mean, you came from a family. I know your family, obviously. For those of you who don't know, in this podcast, this is Larry Davenport's sister, who Challenge Youth Conference is a pretty big name there with Challenge Youth Conference. But there's a lot of faith in your family. Your mom and dad were huge people of faith. Your whole family, but I have no doubt that your faith has grown even more through this. So how has that happened?
Yeah, and I think faith can even change, can it? I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. It evolves.
That's it. Yeah. I think that. Well, I don't think I'm certain that my faith in God and that real spiritual tangibleness of heaven, it changed on July the 8th of 2010. I knew about heaven. I'd read about heaven. I truly believed in heaven. But something like that happens, and that's when you grasp the realness of heaven. I believe so. My faith assures me in a way that I never imagined that he's in a very real place, prepared by Jesus.
And the fact that we have so much hope in a resurrection, that those who are in Christ can be and will be, in the words that you used, will be brought back. There is a place that they await. And in stories like this, I just see people joining the great cloud of witnesses. We've got a great cloud here. And we hope this podcast is part of that, but we also have a great cloud there, wherever that is and what that looks like, cheering us on to finish. And I think that certainly becomes real when things like this happen.
Yeah, sometimes, I hope it's not getting too off the topic, but, that great crowd of witnesses, just getting those high fives,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I think it goes along with it too. Obviously your faith changed. Is there anything else that has changed, just in the way you do things and the way that you perceive things, that have changed in your life since this, journey has started?
Well, I guess not to get too much into the mental health part of it.
I'll trek on.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Let's just be honest. I don't think I freak out about things as much as I did 10 years ago. That freaks you out pretty good. So things after that are pretty much small potatoes. But I take care of my mental health. It's pretty obvious, well, to me anyway, that, there's an ongoing kind of a mild depression, but it's maintained, and it's maintained through faith and mindfulness. No medication yet, but it's, it's workable.
And you mentioned that about medication, and I get a lot of people, you do too, I'm sure, that say, I just don't want to be on any medication, and I, a lot of people say, well, if I pray about it and, these kind of things, it's going to fix, that part of it. And one thing I like to remind people of is, God does answer prayers in different ways. You've already mentioned that, when we say, how did God react in this? And you go, well, I got cards and I got comfort and I got this from people around me that, sometimes the answer to God's prayers may be you find a counselor, or you find, a doctor who can prescribe you something that's going to help you, that God allowed people to create things that can help us in those moments. And so, I don't, although I'm not a big, huge advocate of always medicating, there's certainly a time and a place for it. And so I think we close off like, well, God has to answer it by just making it all go away.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that doesn't always work.
And when someone might, need that combination of medication plus counseling, it seems like when clients go with that type of a combination, they've really got something. And it's not that either one of those, medication or counseling, has to be permanent.
Right.
Absolutely.
Just tools or resources to get you
That's
through the moments.
I would never tell someone with diabetes that, well, why do you need insulin? Can't you just get through this with prayer?
Right.
And mental illness is last time I looked, the brain is part of the body. So it's a very physical thing as well.
Yeah. Pretty intricate little computer we have up there.
Most of us.
Well, some of us, Travis, but
Yeah, exactly. Some of us. I'm just over here fly on the wall. This is amazing.
And we're back.
Just want to take a moment as we get ready to ask the final question to our guests to encourage you, if you are in the market or looking to create your own podcast, to look at Anchor. That's what we use. As you listen, you may be thinking, if these two guys can do it, then anybody can, and that's absolutely true with Anchor. The best part is it's free. There's plenty of creation tools that allow you to record, edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can also contact and have your guests on from different locations or right there in the room with you. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. It can be on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What's your emotional TV or movie moment? It's probably not going to be Bachelor, so we'll let you
probably not.
Tell us what it is.
I watch pretty much one TV show that is a current TV show. I enjoy watching This Is Us, but maybe that doesn't quite qualify because that's just a weekly emotion. But I'll tell you,
that one's a little close to home for me, and so I have a hard time watching it. But like I can't even.
It is tough, isn't it? And I've got a friend who says, I don't cry for entertainment. So
yes,
it is.
I mean that's a good point.
Exactly.
I guess my real if there's something that stands out to me, and this is, some people are they're gonna get what I'm talking about. I really hope. But when Steve left for college on Blue's Clues, my niece Ellen Thorne and I, well, she wasn't Ellen Thorne at the time, but we wept openly. I mean, during that episode, we just
that's fantastic.
I don't really want to talk about it.
Gotcha.
Too much.
I love what y'all are doing. I love your podcast, and not just the podcast. I love what you do in your lives and the people that y'all help, and it's numerous, I can tell you.
Well, we appreciate that, and we really do appreciate you being on with us and sharing your wisdom, both from a understanding perspective because you've been through it, but also from a perspective of someone who is trained to help other people through it too. And so
well,
it's
thank
awesome
you so
to
much,
have
guys.
you aboard.